Rare facts about the Pharaonic civilization. Point 1. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. Did you realize that Cleopatra, the well-known Egyptian queen, was not at all Egyptian? She belonged to the Greek-born Ptolemaic dynasty, which controlled Egypt for several centuries following Alexander the Great's conquests. Cleopatra would have spoken Greek rather than Egyptian and would have identified more with Hellenic culture than with traditional Egyptian practices or beliefs, despite the fact that she lived her whole life in Egypt and rose to fame for both her beauty and political shrewdness. Despite this, she continues to be rightfully hailed as one of history's most fascinating and strong women, and her tale still captures our attention today. Point 2. The ancient Egyptians forged one of the earliest peace treaties on record. Unbelievably, diplomacy was a skill that the ancient Egyptians mastered far before the contemporary era. Around 1258 BC, they signed one of the first documented peace treaties with their neighbor, the Hittites. This agreement was signed by Ramesses II and Hattusili III and is now on display in Istanbul's Archaeological Museum. It was written on a silver tablet. Years of conflict between Egypt and the Hittite Empire over control of Syria came to an end with the treaty. It allowed both sides to concentrate on trade and business rather than fighting, demonstrating that even prehistoric civilizations recognized the importance of coexisting in peace. This treaty provides evidence of Egypt's diplomatic skill and serves as a reminder that disputes can be settled amicably. Three. Ancient Egyptians loved board games. After a long day's work along the Nile River, Egyptians often relaxed by playing board games. Several different games were played, including mehen and dogs and jackals, but perhaps the most popular was a game of chance known as senet. This pastime dates back as far as 3500 BC and was played on a long board painted with 30 squares. Each player had a set of pieces that were moved along the board according to rolls of dice or the throwing sticks. Historians still debate senet's exact rules, but there is little doubt of the game's popularity. Paintings depict Queen Nefertari playing senet, and pharaohs like Tutankhamun even had game boards buried with them in their tombs. Point 4. Egyptian women had a wide range of rights and freedoms. While they may have been publicly and socially viewed as inferior to men, Egyptian women enjoyed a great deal of legal and financial independence. They could buy and sell property, serve on juries, make wills, and even enter into legal contracts. Egyptian women did not typically work outside the home, but those who did usually received equal pay for doing the same jobs as men. Unlike the women of ancient Greece, who were effectively owned by their husbands, Egyptian women also had the right to divorce and remarry. Egyptian couples were even known to negotiate an ancient prenuptial agreement. These contracts listed all the property and wealth the woman had brought into the marriage and guaranteed that she would be compensated for it in the event of a divorce. Five. Egyptian workers were known to organize labor strikes. Even though they regarded the pharaoh as a kind of living god, Egyptian workers were not afraid to protest for better working conditions. The most famous example came in the 12th century BC during the reign of the New Kingdom Pharaoh Ramses III. When laborers engaged in building the royal necropolis at Deir el-Medina did not receive their usual payment of grain, they organized one of the first recorded strikes in history. The protest took the form of a sit-in. The workers simply entered nearby mortuary temples and refused to leave until their grievances were heard. The gamble worked, and the laborers were eventually given their overdue rations. Egyptian pharaohs were often overweight. 6. Egyptian art commonly depicts pharaohs as being trim and statuesque, but this was most likely not the case. The Egyptian diet of beer, wine, bread, and honey was high in sugar, and studies show that it may have done a number on royal waistlines. Examinations of mummies have indicated that many Egyptian rulers were unhealthy and overweight, and even suffered from diabetes. A notable example is the legendary Queen Hatshepsut, who lived in the 15th century BC. While her sarcophagus depicts her as slender and athletic, historians believe she was actually obese and balding.